Greetings, shoppers. Welcome back to the cabin. Long time no see. Got the fire all cozy. The drizzle is constant and consistent. Welcome to tonight. I've been planning this for quite the while, and I'm sorry it's taken so long. I didn't know the angle we would take for our more elusive monster, the Eau Claire Beast. This is one artist's depiction, though I have another one later. It is a cryptid that appears to be a cat. No, wait, a dog. No, wait, it's the size of a bear. No one can entirely agree, but there are certain markers, and there are more consistent things. So the reason why people post it as a panther is that most people see it as a highly muscled, very large black cat. It takes its residence outside of a Wisconsin town that has just about 70,000 people in it, and it's a very bustling place. It's like, I think, our top sixth most populated city in the state. But like almost all Wisconsin cities, once you drive away from the city limits, it's not very long until you hit wilderness and bears and raccoons and any other thing that likes to call the wilderness home. The Eau Claire Beast is not a new invention. As a matter of fact, its first sighting comes to us from a very short paragraph in the La Crosse Tribune on March 19th, 1908. The title says, "Beast Causes Terror." Eau Claire, a wild beast said to be a panther, has been terrorizing residents in the southwestern part of Eau Claire County and the northeastern portion of Pepin County. Some of the farmers, upon waking up mornings, find that some of their sheep and young stocks and calves have been devoured. A farmer's son was followed for a short distance. This doesn't really give us too much to go on because there are no eyewitnesses. Did the farmer's son see this beast? How old was the son? Was he truly followed, or was he just feeling uneasy after finding yet another missing sheep, another splatter of blood? Was it a wolf? In the early 1900s and before, Wisconsin had big cats like cougars and mountain lions and such. And they apparently had died out around the area. So is this one of those leftover cats? Did the cats really disappear? No one really knows. And then you're thinking, well, that was a long time ago. I will come back to this whole feels like he was being followed thing because I feel like that is a bit of pertinent information if it's not just a willful child's imagination. So, we go from 1908 all the way to 2001. The witness was a nurse coming home from her shift in the city to her house in the country. The time was approximately 11:30 at night, and it was on Highway 37 southbound. The nurse saw what she believed was a large dog. During the brief, but only a few seconds encounter, she felt as though the creature was supernatural and wanted to cause harm. It was muscular. It was the size of a bear. Now, for those of you who don't live around black bear, they are actually one of the smaller bears. This is not a grizzly or a polar bear we're speaking of. So, whilst they are not small animals, they are also not the biggest a bear can be. It was the shape of a dog, bear, or dog, wolf, or panther, which doesn't really narrow it down. But if you're seeing a black shape in the dark, it's very hard to make out if it's on the side of the road, maybe half hidden in some brush. It walked on all four legs, and it had red eyes, and it was red-eyed, or red was coming out of its mouth. Now that is interesting, because with a lot of different cryptids, I've heard of like the red eyes or the glowing eyes or whatever, but the red coming from its mouth is interesting to me. I've never heard anything like that. That leads me to believe, if that is exactly what she was seeing, that means this is its own kind of cryptid. Because red doesn't just emanate from the mouth of a normal wolf, a normal bear, a normal, like, lion, whatever the hell it is. So, not too far from that, not too long later, was our 2002 sighting. The witness was a news station employee who was also a woman. The time was also 11:30 at night, and it was Highway 53 South. Also of note is that they're both going southbound or taking the south road at the time of the seeing it. I don't know if that's prevalent to anything in this story. I just thought with these two encounters, it was a very interesting coincidence. The description was panther-like, muscular, and the size of a bear. So we have a little less detail, but no red eyes, no red mouth, nothing like that. So could this have been an actual animal? We're not entirely sure on that one. But it seems a little more plausible to be rooted in reality without the red emanating from the mouth. This is another artist depiction of it, and it shows it being a little more possibly dog-like. But again, no one has really good proof or footage, so we're not entirely sure. And while you look at this depiction, I would like to read to you a late finding of mine from the Pine Barrens Institute. The name was kept private at the request of the witness. Our witness is 57 years old. First sighting 1, second sighting 2. So they had 2 different sightings. First one was just them. Second one had another person with them. Location of sighting, Chippewa Falls and surrounding area, Wisconsin. So Chippewa Falls is not too far from the site of the other ones. Because Chippewa Falls, the Chippewa River is actually only a few miles out from where these sightings were near Eau Claire. And we'll get to that later. The date of sighting was all the way in 2012. So while it was 12 years ago, it wasn't that long compared to just turning of the millennium. Okay, they believe they saw a large black cat. The message says, I had 2 separate sightings about a month apart, and the first was on the left side of the road as I was heading into town from the Lake Wissota area, going to Chippewa Falls down County Road J. I was just passing the Chippewa Valley Correctional Treatment Facility and noticed something in the distance moving through the field towards the tree line. I slowed down and watched a large black cat. Notice how he didn't say cat-like thing or she or they. Walking away and slightly uphill. I saw the entire length of the body as well as the long tail that curled towards the end. I remember thinking it must be huge to see it so clearly. Honestly, I didn't think much of it after that. I know what I saw, and I don't care if people say they aren't in the area. I saw what I saw. I owned a cat, and I was very familiar with the slinky, fluid way they move, and that was exactly how this one moved. I happened to mention it to my son, and he knew someone who worked at the facility, and this person had mentioned to others there to be aware of their surroundings because he had been finding large tracks around the buildings. The second sighting was about a month later, and my daughter and I were heading into Chippewa Falls. It was dark, and we had just crossed Seymour Clay Boulevard and were coming up on the curve by the bar on Park Avenue when something pitch black shot out from the hillside on my left and ran across the road to the other side that led down the river, or that would lead down to the river. As it went in front of my car, it was just beyond my headlights, but I distinctly saw the stretched, long and low body of a large cat with its front legs completely outstretched and the hind legs stretched behind, followed by a long tail. The last thing I saw was it hunching up as its legs were coming together to launch itself into another leap across the road. My daughter saw something as it went to a right and into the shrubbery area across the street, but didn't see what it was. I had never heard of the Beast of Eau Claire until a half an hour ago, and I had found it very interesting considering what I had seen. So, very interesting tale. That person is damn sure they saw a large cat, a black cat. But the thing is, there are no large black cats in Wisconsin, at least according to the DNR. So what is the Eau Claire Beast exactly? Is it a unique cryptid all to itself? Is it a hellhound, as we'll be investigating a bit later? Is it a dogman or the Beast of Bray Road just moved up north? Or is it a cougar? More specifically, could it just be a new type of cougar, a black cougar, which, as far as science knows, doesn't exist yet? This is a map of Wisconsin. We will be investigating a few small places. The county in red is Eau Claire, one of our counties in the eastern part of the state. Nearby is the county of Dunn, and right underneath is a tiny county of Pippin, where some of the activity has also been taking place. But there have also been hellhound sightings, and that's another possibility. And then there's cougar documentation in Vernon County. I wanted to add the cougar documentation because I found some things very interesting, especially with an article I found. But for now, we're going to say, if it's not a unique cryptid of its own, could it be a Mary Dean hellhound? In the Chippewa River, okay, I'll just read what it says, but former island community on the Chippewa River, it was eventually moved inland, named after Mary Dean, a girl or woman of dubious legend. She's said to be a ghost. Hellhounds also prowl around the boat dock, which isn't too far from Eau Claire. Mary Dean is an interesting case because as I looked, I found many legends of a girl named Mary Dean, but not any facts. So one was that she was traveling via boat with a minister and his wife, and she was a girl, and she got ill and died of a mysterious illness. And when she got to the island, they had buried her, or she had died just after they got to the island, and they buried her. And the island is named after her. I have heard reports that she was a young cook on a steamboat, like a woman in her 20s, and fell overboard. I've heard that she was a teenager whose boyfriend drowned her because of jealousy or whatever. I have found many things about Mary Dean, but not exactly anything concrete. Because even the time span of how old she was, what happened, anything. But apparently Mary Dean is a girl who died somehow. And the island was named after her, the community. So how do we get hellhounds? And why is Mary Dean still a ghost? So we're going to take a small detour, and we're going to talk about Mary Dean. Because Mary Dean's spirit is said to be in the water. It's said to be like a siren that calls out to you, pleading for help like she's drowning, asking you to come to her. But if you see Mary Dean in the water, don't come over. She is said to drown you, make you disappear, something. So there is another legend, forgetting about Mary Dean, because she's not a hellhound that I know of, from the 40s to 60s era, 1940s to 60s. Two young kids were thought to be torn apart. Their truck had been abandoned, and when the authorities looked into it, they found blood splatters in the car, or vehicle, I should say, because it's a truck, and some unknown animal hair in the truck. But the victims were never found. Looking into this, it's precisely that. It's another legend. There are no names of the kids, not even first names, no ages of the kids. Are we talking like 6-year-old kids that were supposedly with their parents and were told to stay with the truck? Are we talking about kids who went out necking, like the urban legend with the guy with the hook for a hand, and they were out where they shouldn't have been, and that something bad befell them? I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. But I thought that was interesting that there are no details. Yet another legend, possibly the origin of the hellhounds, states that a doctor on the island or in the community, I don't know if this is after they had moved it back inland or if it's before, but he had several large dogs. One day the dogs just snapped and tore apart all of the children in the family. They don't say the names, ages, they don't say how many kids, genders, nothing. No one knows why. And the dogs are said to be the hellhounds. Possibly the doctor destroyed them after they ripped apart his kids. I don't think he would have kept them around. And then I put a little thing on the bottom and it says less than 7 miles from Caraville. So between Eau Claire, where our beast resides, and a little bit after is a place called Caraville, and between that is Meridine, the little township village of Meridine. And why I put Caraville down at the bottom is Caraville itself is actually very haunted. There is said to be a demon man who stalks things with horns named Blackie. And the cemetery there is like his home or something. And black magic was supposedly done there. There is a haunted schoolhouse with a little boy named David who supposedly froze there. And it was like stuck to his desk or something. I could be getting some of this detail wrong. And then across from the schoolhouse where David is, there was a church that's also haunted. I think they've said like the keyboard or organ plays by itself, or you hear organ music. There is somebody who supposedly hangs from where the bell is hung at the top. It's said to be a priest. I don't know. Looking at records, there was no priest who died there that I could find. So I don't know what they're seeing. Blackie apparently moves around. And the only reason I'm mentioning Caraville is because this part of Wisconsin appears to be very active. Although I will tell you for sure that the residents of Caraville will tell you nothing like that is actually happening there. Do they not want looky-loos? Do they not have experiences there? You know, is this all marketing? Like, oh, if we keep it hush-hush, people will be like, oh, they're definitely covering something up. I'm not exactly sure. But circling back around to the hellhound idea, we have to have sightings of the Meridine hellhounds. So in 2005, 2 women, a mom and a daughter, saw a white transparent wolf walking down the road at 10:30 at night. Now you're going to say to me, but Toluca, you said, you know, the ECB, the Eau Claire Beast, is black. The hellhounds should probably be black. There are actually white hellhounds. And I don't think they should be called that, but there are, at least in folklore, at least in Mexican folklore. And the white ones are actually somewhat beneficial. So I guess good spirits, bad spirits. Of course, bad is always black, good is always white. But I mean just in like the mythology and everything like that. So you can technically see a white one. I don't know if they've ever been bad. I don't really know too much of the lore on those kind of hellhounds. But it makes sense that if the hellhound lore holds true, that there could be a white one. So they saw like a transparent wolf walking down the road at 10:30 at night. In an unknown year, a group of bikers at a boat dock near sunset. So they had all parked near the boat dock. Several transparent black dogs were around them, or around the boat dock with sharp teeth. They didn't approach. The bikers took off, I guess running at first or just on their motorcycles, but the dogs actually kept up no matter what pace they were going. One biker kicked out and his foot actually went through the dog's body, and that must have been enough of a shock to cause the spectral hounds to retreat. The men were so scared, or people I guess I should say, were so scared of what they had seen at the boat dock near Mary Dean that they went for 30 miles on their bikes before they stopped because they were just so freaked out. They didn't want to talk about it. They just wanted to run because they were being chased by spectral dogs with like very fearsome looking teeth. And then, kind of switching gears yet again, David M., who was a Canadian businessman, spotted a two-legged wolf on the side of the road a few hundred yards from the boathouse. It was black, 7 feet tall, and fuzzy and shaggy. Legs were slender and backwards from that of a human. Did not get a very good look at the other like arms or legs or the head as he was just speeding through. So we now ask ourselves, what is the case against the Eau Claire Beast being a hellhound? Well, no ECB sightings have mentioned transparency. No ECB color, hasn't been any color but black. So like seeing a white one like they did the hellhounds of Mary Dean wouldn't make sense. All ECB sightings have been at night as far as I can tell. ECB is more often described as cat-like in my research, even though some have said it's a like wolf-like or whatever. The ECB is always one critter at a time, meaning when anybody sees an ECB, it's always solo. There's never been like a pack of ECB. Okay, the case for ECB being a hellhound is location proximity. It's paranormally active, it's all in the same area. The hellhounds often do have glowing eyes, often glowing red eyes. That would actually, with the witness that said it had like red emanating from its eyes, that would actually make sense. It's always on all fours. Some witnesses claim the ECB might be wolfish, so it could fit in. Or some people could be seeing the ECB and on separate occasions also seeing hellhounds. And they reside in similar proximity. But since the last witness near the Mary Dean boathouse mentioned a dog man, we have to discuss the Beast of Bray Road or dog men in general for this. And it says, most accounts do describe what is chalked up as a large, hairy bipedal creature. Witnesses estimate a 6 to 7 foot tall towering beast with the body entirely covered in thick fur. The head shape resembles that of a bear or wolf, possessing other canine features like teeth and claws. It has bright yellow eyes and wanders around on both 2 and 4 legs. It appears most similarly to a man with bulging muscles and has significantly pointed ears. So this really doesn't sound like our ECB. But it's interesting that a dogman-like creature could also be spotted along with around Mary Dean Island, which is close to Caryville, which is close to Eau Claire, which is like a whole area of fuckery. If the ECB is a separate animal and it's paranormal, we have that, we have a shitload of ghosts, we have a demon, we have hellhounds, we have a woman who lures you into the water like a siren. If she's not a ghost, she's some kind of like angel of death, I don't know. It's all very fascinating in that area of Wisconsin, let me tell ya. So I brought this map back. If you want to know more about the Beast of Bray Road, I did do a different video on my channel. But I brought this map back because it overlays where the sightings are, current sightings as far as the video from the flyover states had. Because the one theory is that they appear around effigy mounds. The Eau Claire Beast, not the Eau Claire Beast, sorry. The Dogmen / Beast of Bray Road specifically. And we have a lot of effigy mounds, which were Native American burial mounds in the shape of animals. Serpents, tigers, stuff like that. And it's pretty far away from like the most northern, eastern, whatever sighting from the Eau Claire Beast. I did look up and see if there were any effigy mounds near Eau Claire, because some people think that it's a spectral animal that follows burial mounds, which is why the blue dots are there. And I couldn't find any Eau Claire effigies. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying in my research, I don't know if the dog man who follows the, burial mounds, the effigy mounds, if he would actually be there. But then again, the effigy mounds were only one theory to tie Bobber, the Beast of Bray Road, as a special type of creature that follows the death of the sacred mounds or whatever. So just because there are none doesn't mean he wouldn't show up. And according to one witness, he is there. But just for funsies, we will say the case against ECB as Bobber, our little Bobber, our Beast of Bray Road. ECB has never been upright. It is not 6 to 7 feet tall, not humanoid. Bobber was never mistaken for a cat, always a dog, always whatever. The ECB is sleek, not shaggy. But the Bobber can also be on all fours. It has glowing eyes, though maybe the wrong color, though I've heard some people say, like, the Beast of Bray Road does have, like, other color eyes besides yellow. Often viewed as dark and muscled, just like the ECB, mostly seen at night. So that fits. And spotted as individuals, no groups. Again, that is a case for it being the ECB. But I don't think if you look at the Beast of Bray Road, which is almost like a werewolf, that you would ever mistake it for a large black cat. It's not something I can see. I wouldn't think you would mistake a werewolf for a lion, for example. I think those two are fairly different creatures. So, whilst I had to put it on as a possibility due to proximity and a few other, little things here and there, I very much disavow this idea. It could more likely be a hellhound. In the book I read by Chad Lewis that I, sourced on the bottom of some of these slides because I took some of the info from there, he claims that since there is such a proximity to Merrydean Island and the community of Merrydean, that there could be some kind of, not transference, but just a wider range for the hellhounds than previously thought. And I do see that as a better fit, but personally, that is not my favorite theory of all this. So my favorite theory is cougars. Just plain cougars. And I don't mean to say that lightly, but last winter in Belt Magazine, they adapted a podcast for an article. And I would like to read to you excerpts from the Great Cougar Comeback in Belt Magazine. I do have the full link on the bottom. It's actually very interesting to read. So, I've published over the years probably about 200 cougar sightings, says Stanek. And remember, he resides in the southern part of Wisconsin. I would say over 50% of them were black. The thing is, a black cougar has never been documented by wildlife biologists anywhere. There's no such thing as a black cougar, said Stanek. They don't exist, but are they here? Yes. A different excerpt says, Wallace said a huge black cat slipped silently down the driveway, didn't even glance at her, and disappeared into the darkness. His tail just, it swooped like this, said Wallace, making an upward curving motion with her hand. Its tail was long, kind of a long body, decently sized. And I want to go back to the one account I read to you out of the Pine Barrens, when it was said that the tail was very long and that they knew what a cat had looked like. So that is a very, very interesting comparison to it all, I feel. And then on the bottom, it gives a few more people. About 40 yards away, I saw this big black cat, he reported. The creature was huge. John compared the size of a lion to a large dog, the size of the lion, and said it was stone black. Next person, I stepped out of the barn and there was this beautiful black, glistening animal, Joanne revealed. Now, if you'll remember from the first ECB sighting I had, One of the descriptions on the slide is shimmering black skin. Here, this says it was a glistening animal. Similar thing. The man who was sure that he saw a very large cat that he attributed to an ECB said it had a very long swishing tail. So they are cougars. And somehow people are seeing black cougars. Now, to be fair, let's do this. Let's see the last slide. The case against black cougars being ECB, or somewhat black cougars in general. No black cougars have ever been documented. People keep sending DVR hoax, or DVR. I did it wrong. It was fucking not DVR. God fucking damn it. The DNR. I knew I fucked up something. That's the... Sorry, Shelpris. My bad. I meant the DNR, not the DVR. I knew I got my letters mixed up. But it's supposed to be DNR. People sending the DNR hoaxes. People are sending, they're like, oh, Louisiana, this is from here though, but it's really not. Or this is a panther and it's a house cat. They had to measure it out and figure out the perspective of the photo. So people are supposedly sending the DNR hoaxes, which does not help people's cases. The ECB is active mostly at night. Cougars can be active at any time, but they mostly hunt and are active at dawn and dusk. No red emanates from their mouth. Black bear are usually larger than cougars, so when people say it's the size of a black bear, that would not be accurate. But the case for black cougars, their eyes can shine from yellow to red spectrum in the dark, which could explain the red eyes. People might not be familiar with cougars, so this is a point I really want to hammer home. In Wisconsin, we're not used to cougars like people are in, say, Colorado or some shit. So if you hear, a scream from, a mountain lion or something, or a cougar, you'll be like, oh, that's a cougar. Here we'll be like, what the fuck is that? Did death just come for me? Because we're used to, lynx, we're used to coyotes and wolves and black bear and a whole bunch of other animals. But if you give us a large cat, we're not used to that. So people might be like, no, the DNR said that it wasn't here. And that's the thing. For years before the DNR actually admitted there were sightings that were real, the DNR said we did not have any cougars here. None. Even though people were reporting them and people were like, they're lying to us. I'll take that for what you will. So they can be active at night. They can technically be active any time of day. Even the tan and gray ones can appear black in such lighting. So if you catch a grayish or tannish cougar at night in the dark, it can still look black because you can't really see the light bounce off it too well. So they can look black at night. So even people who don't see black cougars can actually think they're black. So they are migrating east. Eau Claire is in eastern Wisconsin. So they have said that the migration is taking cougars back more into our state. And Eau Claire is just on the fatty edge of the eastern. So it's one of the few, it's only a couple counties or so into it that we get to Eau Claire. And then it covers the cat-like shape. So many people say the Eau Claire Beast is a cat. Cat-like, sleek, long tail, blah, blah, blah. It looks like a cat to most people. And here you have people in the southern part of the state documenting all these cougar sightings and all these black cats. And they don't see them as paranormal. They're just like, oh, we have large black cats. Of course we do. And the DNR is telling people, and biologists are telling people, no, cougars can't be black. So I think what Stanek, the guy who tracks the cougars, was saying was that he believes somehow, the big cats from Mexico are interbreeding with mountain lions or cougars or whatever. And some of the names are interchangeable, some of them aren't. I'm not a biologist, don't sue me. And that's how we're getting this variant. I don't know about that. When biologists are like, no, we can't have black ones. And I'm just thinking it's not purple polka dot. I mean, they make it sound as though it's as absurd as saying I saw one that was hot pink and flew. It's a black large cat. So while I cannot tell you what ECB is, if it's real, what I am kind of aiming towards, because if you look at this, and since people say there are no big black cats in Wisconsin, and let's say any in North America, just for sanity's sake, wouldn't you just say that that's paranormal then? If like over 200 sightings, if 100 of them, over 100, people swear they're black cats. They see them in daylight, they're black. They see them at night, they're black. They're always black. If that's true, and technically it's impossible to have a black cat, technically aren't these all the Eau Claire Beast sightings? Like, wouldn't all of them be considered paranormal? I don't know. That's not up to me. But I'm kind of leaning towards the ECB might be real, and it actually might be something that is kind of normalish, but not documented. I mean, how many things were seen as fake news or a hoax until somebody actually had the proof? So maybe the ECB is just black cats. And maybe as they move east, they have to adapt to different things at different times because they're not settled in yet. Could explain, I mean, mountain lions or whatever themselves usually cover solitarily a wide range of land. So you won't see like a whole pack of them together, a whole pride, whatever. You won't see a whole bunch of them together. So I guess that's where I'll leave it up to you. Do you think they're hellhounds? Do you think people are seeing shapes in the dark and thinking it's a cat because of how smooth it moves, and here it's a dog? Do you think it's the Beast of Bray Road? I mean, certain people didn't get a very good look. Do you think it's just a normal animal that people are mistaken for something else? Do you think there is an animal that has a new coloring that people are trying to say doesn't exist? I don't know. I'm leaning more towards the cougar thing. Because, as I've stated before, anytime there's something that science doesn't yet know about, they call it supernatural. So maybe the ECB is just a new type of cougar out there. Maybe we'll never know the answer. Maybe someday, along a road, somewhere, from a doctor's appointment, from a long night, traveling from work, you'll see a sleek body, shimmering skin, while muscled, with eyes glowing in the dark. And you'll think to yourself, that is no cougar. That is something beyond this world. And as it melts back into the trees, you'll be glad you don't see it ever again. But I don't know. I'll leave it up to you. What do you think? Is it just a figment of our imaginations? Is it a new cryptid? All hail the new lord? Is it more dogmen? What is it? You tell me. I don't know. I'd like to think it's a black cat, though. Because, and here's another thing I want to go back to. I told you in the 1908 article to keep in mind the son felt like he was stalked. One of the things I know about bigger cats is that you can feel it following you on the road. If it wants to attack you, it won't do it right away. It kind of just follows along and waits. I know somebody who lives out in Oregon, and they were climbing down a trail once near dusk, and they said they could feel being watched. They could feel it following them, and it was just one of their large cats. So who's to say that feeling of being watched and everything was really true? And it wasn't the imagination, and it was just a cat. A dangerous cat, especially if you're small, but a big cat nonetheless. So I just thought I'd leave you with all that and let me know what you think. And I didn't know what angle to take on this for the longest time because of the lack of like sightings or information. The Beast of Bray Road has books galore and movies and all kinds of stuff, but the Eau Claire Beast, not so much. So I thought I would leave it up to you to tell me if they're hellhounds in the night or whatever. And I thought it would be fun to like look at all the differences and similarities. To be fair, I didn't cover every single one. So if there's like information you can dig up and you're like, well, Toluca, they're also here, or they also do this, or they can't do that, so it can't be this, let me know. Let me know what you find out in your research. And thank you for joining me at the cabin. I appreciate it. I always love having you here. And remember, always be cautious in the night. Be cautious of everything. And keep yourself safe. And I will see you back here in the safety of the cabin next time. Bye, Shelpers.